Welcome back to another episode of the Sky Society podcast. Today, I am so excited to be chatting with Kayla Boyd. She is the senior shopping editor at Buzzfeed. What a dream job. Welcome, Kayla.
Hello, I'm so excited to be here.
Amazing. Excited to have you on. So, in addition to being a shopping editor, Kayla is also a content creator where she promotes body acceptance and self-confidence. So, we're going to jump into both of those two passions for Kayla. Before we jump into all of that, if you can tell me a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Yes, absolutely. So, as you said, I'm a senior shopping editor at Buzzfeed, which is so fun. I literally write and edit posts about products all day. And then I'm also a content creator. So, I've had a blog since 2014 and I still have it. And I also obviously am active on social media. So, Instagram, TikTok, even YouTube when I am so inspired. And yeah, so my life is really just taking a lot of photos, writing a lot, editing a lot. And yeah, it all kind of flows into each other.
How exciting. So, you're very much living in the content creation world. That is what you're doing at work, and that's what you're doing with your side hustle.
Yes, exactly. And I didn't mention I'm based in New York City, which also is a great place for all of those things, but I'm originally from the Detroit area in Michigan.
Yes, tell me a little bit about that. So you moved from the Detroit area to New York all on your own, no help, no connections. Tell me a little bit about that journey for you.
Yes, absolutely. It was so scary. So I went to undergrad in Michigan at a like medium-sized state school called Eastern Michigan University. And I studied journalism and I actually double majored in fashion merchandising because I was like, I want to be a fashion writer. I want to work for a magazine. And in Detroit, there's not many publications. There's not, your mainstream media really. You really have to be in New York or LA for that. So I was very determined to get to New York. So I decided to apply for grad school programs as kind of like a way to ease me into New York. I applied to some in like Chicago and other major cities, but I ended up going to Syracuse and I did a year-long master's program. And there I studied journalism again, but it was technically called arts journalism, which really just meant I got to take some classes in fashion. So it was really just continuing my education as a way to get to New York. So because Syracuse has really strong journalism programs, they encourage you to like intern in the city and visit the city. So from there, I started doing internships in New York City. And that was so rough because, as I mentioned, like I didn't have any like family or friends in New York. Luckily, I've made plenty of friends along the way, but first going to New York was very intimidating because I had to stay at Airbnbs and I was poor at the time, like a student, So I was booking like very cheap rooms, not like a full apartment, just like a room in someone else's
Oh
home.
my gosh,
So scary.
that is terrifying. I don't even do that.
I would not do that anymore. Honestly, I feel like when you're so determined and when you're younger too, because now I'm way more like aware of things. but,
Oh my gosh,
but
I think about some of the things I did when I was younger, and I'm like, how am I alive? How am I still here?
literally. So yeah, and along with that, I also used to take a 4-hour bus ride from Syracuse to New York City for the last few months of my grad school program so I could intern at Nylon Magazine, which was one of my favorites. Oh my goodness, I loved them. But it was an unpaid internship. So I was taking the bus it was for 2 days a week, but so it was I would like go to the city on I think it was Wednesday nights and come back over the weekend. And I would spend all this time and money to go to an unpaid internship.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, very ridiculous. And I don't recommend unpaid internships, honestly. But, again, when you're younger and you're so determined, you're like, I really need the experience. So, Yes, but so anyway, early days in New York were very scrappy, very like I'm just gonna do whatever I can to get public, bylines at major publications and meet people. So yeah, luckily I ended up, like I said, I ended up making more friends. I had a friend who let me stay in their like extra room, and it was in the Bronx, which was far from Manhattan at the time, but that ended up being a little bit more of a stable situation. Um, and yeah, it was just a lot of making connections as I went, uh, freelancing when I could, and just trying to make it into the city. So to wrap that up, when I graduated from Syracuse, I decided like if I go back to Michigan, that like who knows when I'll get back to the city. So I need to go straight to New York City. So I had interviewed for like a few different entry level positions and paid internships. And I had a couple that I was waiting to hear back from, but I didn't have an official offer yet. But I was like, I have to go straight to the city. So I was prepared to like get a job waitressing or in retail or something. But luckily, right when I moved to the city, I did get a paid full time internship at a smaller website, which was called Cafe Mom. It was literally like a mommy blog, basically. And they took me on as a entertainment and lifestyle intern. So yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So quite the journey to finally getting a paying role in the area that you wanted to do. And I think a lot of people can relate to how hard it is to just get that first opportunity. And yeah, unpaid internships suck. I definitely have my own experience with those. I have my experience working at an unpaid internship, asking for money and being told no. I
Yeah.
they're not always the best. But I have a couple questions on that. So you moved to a new area. I feel like this is kind of a cool trend that a lot of people now a trend back then, probably a lot scarier than it is now. How did you meet new people in the new city that you moved to?
Yeah. So like I said, with grad school, I started to make friends. So it was nice that at least a few of them also moved to New York City. So using school as a means of making friends and connections was major. But also through those first couple jobs, I definitely made some friends. It can be harder to make friends in a work environment, but I met a couple people at that first job at Cafe Mom that I literally still hang out with today. So it's really just being willing to like go to happy hours, hang out with people outside of internships or outside of your job, and definitely utilizing if you are in school, definitely utilizing that network for sure. Um, but yeah, a lot of my friends are definitely from work and school, but also I went to networking events and things like that to just kind of really get to know people.
Yeah, definitely. I moved here. I've talked on the podcast a little bit from California to Austin, and I knew nobody. But so much of making friends when you move to a new space is putting yourself in those uncomfortable situations and really like going out of your way to make an effort because they don't just like come to you. And I find, especially with women typically are always like waiting for other people to make the move. So then you get into situations where like everybody's just waiting for everyone to like ask the other person to hang out. And so you really got to take initiative and like make those friendships happen.
Absolutely agree, 100%.
So around this time, had you started becoming doing content creation or taking that seriously yet?
Oh, yeah. So I love that question because I had dabbled and tried for so long, and I think that so I'll back up. In 2014 is when I started my blog, and at that time I was still in Michigan, and I was I think I was like in my like first or second year of college. um so I started the blog because I was like, I want to write about fashion again. And so I knew nothing. I didn't know anyone who was a blogger. I was just really starting to use like Instagram and stuff. But personally, I didn't know anyone else who was blogging. So it was very trial and error. I tried all different platforms and formats and all this stuff. But, it was very much how many bloggers were back in the day. day, like taking photos against a garage door.
Yeah. I can picture
And
it.
yes, and very low quality, and just writing about my day, and it was very funny. But it got me going, making content, like writing about my outfits or what I was going through or college or whatever. And I kept the blog, and throughout grad school, I would like blog here and there, but obviously I was busy with grad school and interning. So even though I always kept it and I would post once in a while, I didn't really consider myself like a content creator at that time. I feel like that word kind of also came a little bit later. But when I got into New York City, and I'd say when I first started getting like my first job and everything, that's when I decided I wanted to keep going with my blog and just keep experimenting with when I would go on a trip, I would love to post travel posts, or when I would go to a cool event in New York, which was all new to me, going to really cool exhibits and pop-ups and things like that. So I was like, oh, I'll just put all this in my blog. And eventually in that first couple years in New York, I started, translating that more into Instagram and YouTube and eventually TikTok.
Amazing. So what makes you, I think, unique as a content creator is what your mission is behind your content, which is promoting body acceptance and self-confidence. What made you want to take that route and like make that your statement of who you are and what you're doing with your content?
Yeah, I think that it just is so who I am. I've always really wanted to make people feel good about themselves and help people. And I think that I just noticed a lot of people would comment on how confident I seemed, or, whatever it may be, or how I would dress really colorful and things like that. And so it just was a very natural thing for me to post about body acceptance, talking about insecurities, talking about embracing, whether it's your skin tone, your hair texture, your body shape. And, I went through a period, as many of us do, of I gained weight, from being a early college student to becoming more of a woman. And I didn't want that to hold me back, personally, from wearing cute clothes and having fun and going out in the city. And so I would just naturally talk about those things. And I think that when you're being authentic to yourself, people just, they find inspiration in that, or they take something positive from that. And so, yeah, I didn't specifically say, I'm going to do this with my content. It just naturally was who I was. And luckily, people get, positive vibes from it and encouragement from it. And that's really all I want. So.
I love that. And I love that because that's such an entrepreneurship. They always say that the way to figure out what business you should start is just find what people naturally are always coming to you for help with. I feel like it's really similar to that story that you shared of like, it wasn't maybe necessarily your intention, but you were just doing it naturally. And then your audience is really receptive to it. And I think that's where you can find a lot of authenticity. With Sky Society, I'd started other businesses before that I just thought would be fun to create. But what was super different about this one is this is like where I had like naturally had people that were already seeking my help in this space. And then it was like, oh my gosh, like I can actually do something with this. So I think for everyone, like that's such a good place to look at of like, if you want to be a content creator, like, what should I do? Like, what are you passionate about? And like, what are people always going to you and asking you for help for, or kind of what's that unique space you occupy? And I want to chat a little bit more about this body acceptance, because I think as women, it's something we struggle with a lot. I struggle with it all the time of just like, some days loving my body, some days hating my body, and just constantly going back and forth. And really, my whole life really struggling with body acceptance. Do you have any advice when it comes to that, or how we can make steps to love ourselves and our bodies more?
Yes, absolutely. And I just want to start by saying it is hard to do, whether you are a plus size, straight size, mid size. It is difficult to love your body because the media, as someone who works in media, it's constantly telling you that you need this product or this thing, or even nowadays, surgeries and filters and all these things. And you just get so bombarded with it, and even just consistently seeing yourself or others with a filter on social media, something so simple, can really make you look in the mirror and like second guess, your natural beauty. So I will just say it's hard. And even as someone who, you know is generally pretty confident, and also like people, like know me as someone who is very pro body acceptance, I also have those moments and those days of, oh gosh, like I don't like this angle, I don't like the way I look in this. And so it's completely normal. Even people who are stunning in our eyes and flawless in our eyes, they also have those days. So I think it's important to take that pressure off of yourself and just remember that even Beyonce, even Kylie Jenner, they're like second guessing how they look, certain days. But on top of that, it's really a mindset, and it's difficult to adapt. And again, you're going to have bad days, but you have to look in the mirror and think, like, change the mindset from what you don't like to what you do like, and really focus on the things that you love about yourself. And that's not always going to be outer physical things. Like, you're a really passionate person, a really charismatic person, a kind person, that, like, it's so cliche, but beauty starts from within. And you need to appreciate those things about yourself. And then there's also the physical things. If you love your hair, your lips, your arms, whatever it is, notice those things, and you can dress to accentuate those things, and find things that just really make you feel good. And whether it is a lipstick shade or a dress, I just, like, you find those things that make you feel good. I personally love hoop earrings, which is so random.
Yes.
I love hoop earrings and I love mascara. And like, those two things just make me feel good that day if I have on some mascara and hoop earrings. And so, really just playing up on the tiniest things that make you feel good, and slowly reminding yourself every day, like, oh, I'm beautiful. Like, I feel good. I look good. I'm a great person. And, hopefully over time it becomes just part of just how you really feel and think every day.
Yes. Also, hoop earrings, so underrated. I'm the same way. I have hoop earrings on. I have an outfit. They just
Yes.
elevate anything I wear. Sometimes I go on a meeting and I'm early and I'm like, I do not look put together. I just throw on a pair of hoop earrings and I'm like, perfect.
Same.
And then for me, it's lipstick. It's lipstick and earrings, and then I'm good to go.
Yes.
But I love it. So the confidence thing definitely plays into body acceptance. And you're so right with everything we're seeing on social media. I feel like one thing I'm seeing everywhere, everyone's getting a boob job right now, like everywhere. And I'm looking down, I'm like, do I need one? Or like, then I'm seeing like girls that I think that are super thin getting liposuction, and I'm seeing all this stuff and it's just so hard, like to avoid it, right? Or in the filter thing on TikTok, when I make TikTok videos, it automatically puts a filter on my face. Like, before I even get to choose, I have to take it off, and I'm like, I don't want to see the like before and after,
Yes.
like me having to take off this filter. And there's so much stuff, especially working in social media and marketing and media, like we're just exposed to it all of the time. So I think it's super difficult, something that I have always struggled with. And I've always had like this quarrel with social media where I don't like it because I feel like I get into this comparison game all the time, but it's also so important with marketing. So
Same.
a battle. One of the things with confidence, so I do a confidence workshop in our accelerator. And one of the things that I go through is just how important it is, like what you said, to compliment yourself and to give yourself praise. And I think especially when you are ambitious and you have all these things that you want in your life, we're talking, outside of body, maybe body's one of them, but so many things you want in your life that we're always looking like how to get to the next place, how to keep moving forward. And that we very rarely like stop and say like, oh my gosh, what I have right now is so good and so great. and we're always living in the future and never living in the present. So one activity I always love to run them through is like actually going down and like writing a list of all of the things that you love about yourself, that you're proud of for yourself. And that could be like what you said, it can be body, it cannot be body, but we need to be, if we want to have acceptance from other people, we also have to accept ourselves first. And so I think that's so important. And something like I like to practice in my life too, of like, okay, maybe no one's going to tell me I did a good job with work this week, but I can tell myself that I did a good job, and that's okay.
Yes, I love that so much. So much. That's yes.
So activity for everyone, go write down, it's called, you can write yourself a confidence letter, and you just write all the things that you're proud of yourself for. And I saw this in a TED talk too, and this guy used it, and he's like, whenever I'm having a rough time, like I have to read that letter to myself every single day. And like the same thing with you, if you're going through it, even if you don't feel it, like just read yourself that confidence letter.
I love that so much. And it really will help you just like alter your mindset a little bit, because we all have things we should be confident about or should be confident in. And it's really just the world makes it hard sometimes to remember those things.
Yeah, it really does. And it's, yeah, especially with I feel like it's just so easy to compare yourself online and get into that game. So love what you're doing with your content and being an advocate for that. And also being honest that, it's not like that's a feeling that I have 100% of the time, and that it comes and it goes. So, okay, we're in New York, you're building up your content empire and you're getting these roles. So you got this role at, Cafe Mom. You did a little bit of freelance writing too, is that correct?
Yes, yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was just gonna say yes. I was freelancing while I was kind of interning and just really trying to get my name out there. So yeah.
Okay, so then you went over to NBC Universal for a little bit. Tell me about your time there.
Yes. So like we just mentioned, I was freelancing. I had written just like a tad bit of tip, would utilize those internships, because after I left Nylon, the unpaid internship, I did pitch them to freelance for them, and I got a couple feature stories that were paid.
Amazing.
So yeah, so I definitely utilize those contacts anytime you can. So that was the beginning of me kind of freelancing. I got to write a feature story for Fashionista and a few other publications that like in the Syracuse area, and just people I had made contacts with, which was great. But yeah, so from Cafe Mom, I finally had like some full-time experience under my belt, and I again, with the help of a friend from grad school, learned about a associate editor, I believe, commerce role at the Today Show, for their website today.com. And because I had a friend who was working there, sometimes it really is about who you know. I know everyone hears that, but she was at least able to like surface my resume, and the interview went well. And that was my first, like, I'd say big name job in media, was working at the Today Show. And it was also my first time experiencing like the shopping side of journalism, e-commerce, market writing. It goes by many names, but it's really just writing about products and hoping people will buy them, so that way the publication can earn some affiliate commission. But yeah, that was my foray into shopping editorial, which turned out to be very perfect for me, because even though I wanted to be a fashion journalist, I learned I could write about, I could write about fashion, I could write about clothes and shoes, but I could also write about beauty products, home decor, even cleaning products sometimes. And I am someone who loves to shop. So it ended up being a very natural fit. And even though it wasn't the very specific dream job I wanted, it became kind of like very perfect for me. So yeah, I worked at the Today Show for a little less than a year. It was a contract role. So it was full time, it was paid, but I wasn't technically on staff. And the contract was for a year with the possibility to be hired after. But I'm still like climbing my way up in New York. I wanted to make more money and have stability. So, I was still applying, as you should. If you have a contract role or internship, definitely be applying during those times, just because you never know if they'll be able to take you on after. So while I was applying, I actually got recruited from Buzzfeed and thought it was not real. But yeah, I got recruited from Buzzfeed on LinkedIn. So everyone keep your LinkedIn profiles updated. I cannot stress that enough because I really did not believe Buzzfeed was reaching out to me to interview for it was actually an editor role too. It was a shopping editor at Buzzfeed. And yeah, I remember I took an informational call and I was very interested and they seemed to like me. I went in for an interview and transitioned from the Today Show to Buzzfeed and just kind of really solidified my place in shopping editorial. And yeah, I've been at Buzzfeed now for almost 4 years. It'll be 4 years this summer. So clearly I enjoy it.
Amazing. Wow, what a journey. So we've got you from unpaid intern, making a trek over to New York and staying in some sketchy Airbnb situations to finally getting a dream job, doing fashion or doing shopping, writing at BuzzFeed. Can you tell me like about some of the types of articles you write or what your role as senior shopping editor looks like at BuzzFeed?
Yeah, absolutely. So when I first started and before I was the senior editor and I was just the editor, I was definitely writing more. Now my job is mostly editing, but when I was writing a lot, we do have a lot of freedom on, even though obviously it's mostly shopping listicles and product reviews, we do have freedom over what products we want to write about or what topics. So I would naturally gravitate towards a lot of fashion. Very important to me to make sure there's always plus size options in there. There's always diverse skin tones and different races represented in our product images. So I get to kind of use what I'm passionate about and apply it on a larger scale, which is very exciting for me. But yeah, so I write some beauty content, like I mentioned before, some home decor. And then surprisingly, people really like to shop like very practical products. So cleaning products and problem solving type products, parenting products, not my specialty as I am not a mom, but yeah, all of those things, like BuzzFeed really covers them all. So I've definitely dipped my toes in a lot, but mostly fashion and beauty product roundups and product reviews. And now that I have moved up a little bit over the time, I manage writers. So basically that means I am meeting with them for one-on-one meetings once a week and kind of giving them advice on what they should be working on. And then they turn in their stories to me to edit. So I will, read them, see what products they're linking to. We like to make sure the products have, really good reviews and the websites that we're linking to are legit and trusted websites. And, there's surprisingly like a decent amount of research that goes into shopping listicles. So, yeah, it's really just making sure that my writers are, doing the best work they can. And then when I have time, I'm also still writing sometimes. And then there's a lot of course, like meetings and strategy. But yeah, it's overall very fun. And
Yeah, sounds fun.
yeah. And I was just going to say I fully work remote now, which is new. Well, not new anymore. It was new as of 2020, but
Yeah.
but I started working in the office and now I work fully remote. So that's also something I've started enjoying.
Do you take advantage of it? Are you traveling more or maybe still kind of getting into that?
Yeah, I would say I definitely did start traveling more since basically since COVID kind of things kind of loosened up, over time. I am able to work from anywhere. I mean, really. So I still am very passionate about taking my PTO and taking time off when I'm like,
Yeah.
this is a vacation. But my family lives in Michigan. And then my mom and little sisters and stepdad actually recently moved to South Carolina. So the good thing with that is I can take like 2 weeks, 3 weeks to go to South Carolina or go to Michigan, and I can work from there easily. So yeah, I definitely have leaned into that a lot more, which is nice to be able to see family and not have to use, my vacation days up. So
Yeah, that is super nice. I definitely am a huge advocate of remote work, and getting to like make the most of it when you do have that freedom and flexibility. So a couple questions for you on your job, which sounds super fun. First, so you mentioned that you have some writers underneath you and that you give feedback. Do you have any advice for someone aspiring to have your role or work in being an editor or potentially writing about fashion and beauty, on maybe tips when it comes to writing or resources that you recommend, or any general advice for someone looking to get into that field?
oh yeah, definitely when it comes to just writing, whether you want to write about products or just like feature stories, just start writing. I feel like so many people overthink things and are scared that they're not voicey enough or funny enough, especially when you write for BuzzFeed. You're like, there's a ton of really funny writers at BuzzFeed. And so I feel like it creates a little bit of pressure for your writing to be so amazing, but it's really just getting started, having a voice, and don't just not overthinking and getting things on paper. And you kind of develop your own voice over time, like especially at somewhere like BuzzFeed, where you kind of have the freedom to write kind of as you would talk. Not every publication is like that, but you just kind of easily, I will recommend a product like I'm talking to my friend, like I'm, like literally telling my homegirl about something that I really like using in my hair or something like that. So yeah, I'd say don't overthink it and you'll develop a voice over time. And then do not take edits personally. That's something that is hard because writing is very it's like vulnerable, when you're putting yourself out there, even if it is just about a product or, a feature story, an interview, whatever it may be. You're always putting some of yourself into writing. So, obviously, like all editors are going to operate a little differently. I take more of a chill approach to writing. I'm not really going to try to change someone's voice. But no matter what kind of editor you're dealing with, you definitely don't want to take things personal. Just really listen to the feedback they have. Don't be afraid to ask questions. And I mean, that can be applied to any job. Never be afraid to ask questions. Because I feel like also sometimes we're scared, like, oh, we should know that, or, I don't want to sound silly, but no, questions are necessary to learn. And yeah, that's off the top of my head. I'm a little long-winded.
Those are great. I love it. Yeah, I think that writing, I mean, the best way to get better is just to write a ton.
Literally.
So just start practicing. And in that same vein, so you'd also so in this space, you're doing a ton of reviews. Are there any like fun perks? Do you get sent free product ever, or do you ever have like any cool experience that you've gotten from this job?
Yes, and my friends will definitely co-sign with the fact I get a lot of free products, sometimes way too much. For obviously in New York, we have very small apartments, so I give stuff away sometimes to my friends. But yeah, we definitely test a lot of products, and it's a mix of sometimes we have something specific in mind, and we, are looking to review like maybe like luggage, or I don't know why that's on the top of my head, but so yeah, sometimes we're looking for specific things, and sometimes we just get sent stuff from smaller brands that want to get noticed. But yeah, I test a lot of free products. That's definitely the biggest perk, I would say.
Yeah, I was gonna say, and I would love to be your friend in New York, getting all of the the extra free
Yes.
stuff. Your friends definitely, I'm sure appreciate that you get sent all that free stuff. But I was like, I always love hearing about perks from cool jobs because I feel like, especially in marketing, there are. I mean, your role is probably highly competitive to get a role like that in marketing in general. It's very, very competitive. But it's really, really cool to hear about all the perks that come with that, of getting, to try new products and getting. I mean, I even to this day I love free stuff. If there's like a free water
Yeah.
bottle in the Uber, I'm excited about that. There's something about getting free stuff that is just exciting. So definitely a cool perk that comes with the job. Is Did you grow up taking the Buzzfeed quizzes too? Because I feel like whenever I think of Buzzfeed, that's like the first thing I always think of.
Oh, no, that is literally what everyone thinks of. And it makes sense because that is just the thing that BuzzFeed is known for. I didn't grow up taking them as much, but I remember it's so funny when I was in grad school and they actually at Syracuse, they had a BuzzFeed class where they would
They
talk
did?
about, yeah, so random.
Oh
And
my gosh.
I remember I didn't take the class because it wasn't part of like my specific program, but I remember thinking like that's so cool. How do people even get jobs at BuzzFeed? Like I distinctively remember thinking like who works at BuzzFeed? Like it's so like it just feels so unobtainable. So it's so funny that I had that very like I really remember that thought in grad school, and I never would have thought I would have worked at BuzzFeed. So yeah, do not doubt yourself. There's always ways indoors, even if you are not expecting it.
Yes. Wow. And look at you now. It's always so funny when you look back, I mean, on your career or your life and like somehow everything makes sense. Like when you're going through it,
Yeah.
it's just feels like you're in the eye of a storm.
Yes, literally that.
So, Kayla, what is next for you, or what are you excited about either within your career or within your content creation?
Oh yes. I honestly I've been enjoying my time at BuzzFeed. I see myself there, you know, for the foreseeable future, but content creating definitely still continuously working on growing and expanding that however I can. I think that I do believe that follower count is overrated, but I still love to grow and expand my audience. So trying my best to be consistent across platforms and leaning into vertical video, which is the hot thing right now.
Yes, yes.
Uh, so I've definitely been working on that, working on my video editing skills. And I'd really like to look into other ways of monetizing content creation, such as like digital products and courses and things like that, that I see so many other people doing that are so cool. And yeah, so I'd love to like kind of see how I can get into those spaces as well.
Exciting. Well, I'm excited to keep up and stay up with your journey. If you want to share your handle so anyone listening can follow you if they're interested.
Yes, on Instagram, I am at Kayla's Chaos. That is also the name of my blog, KaylaSchaos, kaylaschaos.com. And on TikTok and Twitter, I am Kayla C. Boyd.
Okay, so go follow Kayla Chaos or Kayla C. Boy to keep up with her journey. But thank you so much, Kayla, for coming on the podcast and sharing all about your career and content. This is so much fun, and I'm really thankful that you came on and shared your journey with me.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a joy, and I appreciate it.